Today, Yagub, he's a former student of mine, and now I think he's going to be a teacher of mine. So without further ado, Yagub, please take it away.
Thank you, brother. So guys, one man once told me that never stop dreaming, and that's what I do. And I'm happy to tell you that it's not just one man who ever told me. It has been there multiple times from multiple brilliant minds. I believe there are many greater minds than I am, and I always love to take, into consideration great innovations, great recommendations, and advices from those bright masterminds around me. So today I just want to talk a little about why your background doesn't mean anything on who you will be and how you can actually change it. And I want to just start with one thing. When I was 8 years old, I asked my dad, can you buy me a bicycle? And my dad told me one thing. Yes, I would love to, but you have to wait at least 2 months, because my 2 months whole salary will just make enough to make one bike. Okay. And I was 8 years old. I got pissed, to be honest. I really got pissed because my neighbors were cycling their BMXs, and I was asking. It was already May. I already went into a summer vacation. So 2 months meant that I would only be getting my bike in August, and I would only have 1 month left to cycle it. So this is what I did. I spoke some Turkish, by the way. I'm from a part of Azerbaijan that has seen the shittiest war, shittiest structural changes that you can imagine. And one thing that I haven't yet told you is that I was actually born into one of the wealthiest families during the Soviet Union. But because Soviet Union collapsed, my dad went bankrupt. So it's just a story that they are telling me. I don't know if it is true or not. So what I did during that 2 months was something that changed my life personally, because my dad told me that he needs to work day and night, and he was literally doing it. One thing that I regret in my life is that I didn't really get to spend time with my dad. I'm 27 years old. I just turned 27 last week. So in my 27 year of life, I haven't really got to spend time with my dad. Only very, very rare occasions that he didn't work. So my background told me that I had to work day and night for someone just to be able to afford a bike for my child. This is what my background told me. And when that thing, the coin dropped on me, I actually said, all right, if it is the case that people need to work day and night, it means everyone is doing so. And I look around to places where people are having fun. These are not the people who spend their day and night working for others or just trying to meet the ends. These are the people who have, in Azerbaijan case, who have corrupted the people, so that's how they are doing. And very, very rare of them would be the ones that are doing some business activities. And some of them will be the ones that are doing business activities, innovatively, differently than the rest. So at the age of 8, I actually tried my very, very first business. And that very first business of mine was going to the tourist attractions a small kid like this big, going to the tourist attraction, because I was a bookworm, you know. I literally was a bookworm. I knew everything that you could ask about my city to anyone, and I spoke amazing Turkish, better Turkish than the Turkish themselves, because I was spending, you know, time behind those documentaries, because I didn't have anything else. If I would go out, it was all messed up after the war. There was nothing. I was likely to be killed by a snake or some unexploded bomb than, you know, doing something fun. So what I was doing was reading and watching some documentary. So the very first thing that I did was actually becoming a tourist guide. And that was at the age of 8. And I think actually those people paid me money because I looked kind of cute boy, you know, small, 8 years old, not because I was actually adding value. I have to also admit it. But, you know, at least this was the very first step that led me to do something that I really liked and spend my time valuably. And it would only take me 2 hours a day, 3 times a week. So 6 hours. And guess what? End of the 2 months period, when my dad presented me the bike, I actually had enough money to give my dad to buy 3 more bikes. 3 more bikes, okay? And I was only 8 years old. And this continued for me for as long as I know myself, until the age of 15. At the age of 13, I bought the very, very first, you know, but something that I also admit is that I never knew the value of money, because it was easier for me somehow to make always money, but it was never for me to save. This is something that I regret now. So the thing that I managed to do was actually investing time for myself, trying to find really what I love to do. And when I was 15, I was lucky enough, maybe gifted enough to win a scholarship to the US, and it changed my life literally. During my study in the US, the very first thing that I learned was that it is just you against yourself. The noise around you is just there to confuse you, is just there to deviate you from what you want to achieve. It is not an obstacle, it is just a challenge. Okay? And one thing that I remember vividly that has happened to me when I was spending 2 weeks at a JP Morgan, investment management, there was a manager basically from JP Morgan in San Diego. He hosted me for around 2 weeks. And I saw this guy literally spending, well, he would go to work, but when he would come, he would get more excited. And I asked him, why are you really getting so excited? You just came from work and you are sitting again behind your computer and you are getting, you know, like a child. What is it that makes you so excited? He said, I'm doing something that I love. I'm doing something that I love. And that was something, you know, I asked him, can you explain me what is it that you are doing? He started showing me some tips around trading, etc., which that time didn't really make sense to me, honestly. And I got to learn a little bit of information from him. And the next 3 months, I was spending my time around doing things online because it sounded so cool. And the thing around that time was that I was underage. I was yet to be 18. To be more precise, I was 16 years old and a bit. So I wanted to open a trading account to just show myself to someone, or to myself, to be more precise. and they didn't want to give me any account. So I had to ask my dad again, Dad, can you give me another $100 and your identity? And he again told me that, you know, that $100 is my 1 month salary, and you know how much impact will it have. But he did not refuse it. He still managed it. He gave me $100, but I took that money. I'm not going to give company names, etc., to avoid any kind of advertisement. I don't want to preach you guys that you should be trading and so on. Just before passing to the next stage of my life, I want to tell you a little bit about myself, what I do now. I'm 27 years old, proudly saying that I'm one of Lobo's students, and he's one of the greatest impacts I have received ever in my life, together with Professor Ken, not because they have done something physically to me, but they have opened my eyes. That's something that I can always appreciate, and I'll always do so. At the moment, what I do is that I own a company called 7 Markets, which is a media consulting company for fintech companies around the world. And underneath our 7 Markets company, we have a number of other companies as well. Like 7 Markets is the umbrella organization, and we have few other companies, which one of the most recent one is called A2ZForex.com, where we share, unorthodox and unbiased information about the financial markets. And we have another participant there, Yuri. He's also greatest participant and greatest contributor to our operations as well. So I love talking. I love talking about financial markets. I love training people. Indeed, just in the last 14 months, I've trained a little bit more than 11,000 people online and close to 600 people offline on how to trade financial markets. And right now I'm working on my own book called Forex Not for Dummies. I hope that it will be alive before October, November this year, so that I will be able to participate in the following cycle and give you guys a signed version of it. But I want you to also look into between the lines. You know, Forex not for dummies. People will always say Forex for dummies or trading for dummies, because they try to make things so different or look so easy that they can attract stupid minds to come and lose their money. And all they care is not about having added value to anyone, but the only thing that they want is to add value to their own bank accounts. This is something that I don't want. Okay, now back to the operations. When I asked my dad, can you give me $100? After a couple of weeks, he managed to give me $100 and his identity and everything, and I opened my first trading account. The very first thing that was in my mind was that I cannot lose this money. I cannot lose this money. It is, my dad told me that it will have an impact in our livelihood. You have your sister, your mom, and myself. They need to live. And again, there are certain moments in my life that I've been very lucky. And that was that certain moment. Within around 10 days, I managed to make this money turn into more than $600. And the very first thing that I did was to withdraw it and give my dad that $100. But then the lightning hit me. Around an hour after, I lost the remaining $500 as well. So I didn't at the end have anything. And then, just go with the nice face to, well, not really nice face, but nice voice, because I could only call to your dad, say that, can I please get the money back again? And this continued 3 times until I started to understand what is actually risk management, what is the value of money. And when I returned back to Azerbaijan in 2006, I was literally forced by external forces around me, like my family, my former teachers and I don't know friends, etc., that I actually had to study. Although I just wanted to work, I wanted to live like me, whatever I can do, and then I wanted to see what happens to me afterwards. But then I was told that, okay, if you don't go to a university, you're actually going to go to army for 1.5 years, and there is no way around it. And they wouldn't even, consider the fact that I have an injury on my lower back, that I'm not eligible for the army. Well, I was like, okay, it's better to go to the university than just go to the army, waste my life 1.5 years. So I did go to the university. During this period, I ended up also going to Georgia, which a year after I also went to the same a very similar location, and I met Lobo for the first time as well. In my very first trip to Georgia in 2006, I met a guy, and this person was, I'm not going to give the name based on our agreement, but this person was investing in people's dreams. And that was the guy who told me, dream and never stop dreaming, and work until you achieve your dream. So this person was telling or asking everyone to see their business proposals, business plans, and this, that. And when it came to my dream, and his motto was dreaming, okay? What's your dream? And I went and I told him I want to be a professional trader. And he asked, what do you trade? When I explained the trading style or infrastructure that I'm utilizing, he turned around and told me, nobody makes money on it. You better go sell something on the street than that. And I got a little pissed. But this guy was, well, one of the top 100 wealthiest people in the world. And I was lucky enough to have 15 minutes of his time. And he was investing on me already, because one of the top 100 wealthiest people in the world gives you 15 minutes. What are you going to do? And he says that you are not worth his time. One thing you can do is, again, go agree with your background and say, okay, I'm sorry, and then you go back. Another thing is that you reiterate your self-confidence back, and you tell him that, wait a minute, you cannot tell me that I'm not going to be achieving what I'm after. Just give me the chance that I'm after. And I was prepared. I just pulled out the papers that I had printed from my previous 3 years of operations, 2.5 years. Okay, the first 6 months, 7 months was literal disaster. I was trying to hide it. But I showed him, this is what I do. I am making every single month around 30 to 50% profit by trading. And I need money. And then he again turns around and says, if you are making 30, 50% profit, or even more, there were certain months that I was making more than 100%. He turned around and told me, if you are making it so, why do you need me? But again, my issue was that I was extremely dependent on this money that I was making. And, I was working for a telecommunication company as a customer care. I was studying as a full-time student. I was trading, so my day was actually made of around 19 hours of work, literally, every single day. So I wasn't living, and this was a ticket for me to start living. 19 hours a day, you work, study, is not for human. So I just told him that I need $25,000 from you, and that $25,000 will be made more than $1 million within less than a year period. And I even gave him a proposal. I felt like I had the guts to, give a proposal. And my proposal was that whatever I make, 70% to you, 30% to me. And if I lose, nothing happens to me. So I was kind of, insuring myself. And this is what happened. Before me, whomever he invested, he was giving people around $50,000 to $150,000 to invest in their businesses. He invested in some guy about his book writing that he wanted to do. Basically, he wanted to create book writing club, etc. And he didn't ask any money from anyone back, but because I just fought back, and I even gave him a proposal, and I was asking substantially less than the rest of the guys participating. We had 20 people presenting ideas to this person, and he accepted the proposal. He left. This was happening in, I think it was July. He left, and I didn't hear anything from him until it was August or September, from what I can remember. So 1.5, 2 months, he disappeared literally. And then one day I'm logging onto my computer, which is dial-up, crazily fast internet, and I see this blurring, opening email, and it says account number, amount, and the trial period that I have. The trial period he gave me was a year. It took me, guys, less than 4.5 months to achieve the promise that I gave him. And there are certain things behind it. Okay, I was dreaming to be a millionaire one day. I was trying to achieve a goal that I was never given opportunity for. And one extra thing that I was trying was, I was trying to get my life back as a human being. And this 7-digit account that I'm talking about, that I managed to make from $25,000 for this wealthy person, it was, how can I say, it gave me such a confidence. And then biggest thing ever happened to me, that I learned the second goal or second rule of my personal life. You can be confident, but never be arrogant. Okay? You can be confident, but never be arrogant. There is a thin line between these two. If you break this, something crazy happens to you, and then you start damaging yourself. Not only yourself, but the people around you too. So what happened to me? I made over $1 million from trading. And this person told me that I should keep trading because, I had a goal of making just $1 million. And I had reached my goal. I didn't have any next goal. I did not set any follow-up goal for myself. I did not have any next target for myself, and I was just trading. And I was so confident that it turned into arrogance that I can beat the markets. The million turned into 1.6 million, 1.714, and because the more it became, the more arrogant I got. And suddenly I made a loss of over $500,000. And this was the time that I realized the arrogance rule that I just told you. And I called this person and I told him, it's enough. I'm having some psychological issue. And I need you to close the account and send me the money that you promised to give me. Within a week time, he closed the account. And then he again disappeared. This happened in 2007. That summer also I met Lobo in Bakuriani, if Lobo remembers. He was, the title of Lobo's camp there was Liberty Entrepreneurship Camp, if I remember it correctly. And there he told me, and he taught many other people, that your liberty comes first. And I started to feel for the first time that it's not just me. There are actually other people thinking like me, that governments are not supposed to be managing our lives. It is not just me but there are other people that believes that we must have the control of our lives and have the liberty to choose whomever we want to become, whatever we want to become, and whenever we want to do something. And there are rules to control people, but you can also, look at these rules from a brighter perspective as well. That every rule that is out there has a point that you can look at it from an optimistic perspective and see the opportunity out there. I was just reading one of the newsletters from Casey Research the other day, and I also read one thing about Zimbabwe just when I woke up today, about that hotel in Zimbabwe. Life is just like that hotel. I don't know if people have read it or not, but it was saying that when Zimbabwe was going through the trouble, civil war, back in 1970s, Doug Casey was basically visiting there, and he ended up with a hotel that was built during the World War II by Italian soldiers. And if he would have invested in that hotel within 6 years period, he would have made 100% of what, or 100 times of what he had invested in. So life is just like that hotel. You gotta open your eye and see the opportunity that's presented to you. Of course, there will be a lot of people telling you that it is impossible. Even more people will not even see it as an opportunity, but will call you stupid. It's okay to be called stupid. At the end, those people who call you stupid, who call you crazy, who call you impossible, who call you that you're out of your mind, are gonna be the ones turning around, coming around and working for you. I can tell you that. I can assure you that. Even if they are not working for you, they'll end up working for someone and become one of those people, spend 8 to 6 at least every day, depending on where they are geographically. If they are from more eastern countries, there is not even 8 to 6. Quite often it's 8 to 8, 8 to 12. And their life will pass by. And you got to see the opportunity in front of you. Now, my story is not finishing here, guys. My story, after I basically met Lobo, I decided that the next step in my life is actually to study abroad. I tried to figure out the way to go to Hawaii Pacific because I loved the way Ken Schooland was teaching to me, and the way he was, he just, spoke my heart. But anyway, I couldn't find a scholarship, and this person didn't return my money. The guy just took the money, closed the account, he disappeared literally off the world. For me, I had over 300,000, but I had nothing. So I went back to my old routine, working my usual style, studying as usual during my university, and trading with my salary. I put my salary into trading, and I managed to rise around $5,000–6,000 from my tiny salary that I had, and I also applied for a study abroad in the Netherlands. I got accepted to a business school in the Netherlands, and because I had made around $5,000 of saving, it wasn't enough for me to study here, so I applied for another scholarship, and I was lucky enough to win a full scholarship to study in the Netherlands from the president of Azerbaijan. Again, one of those lucky periods in my life. And the scholarship suddenly told me that they're not going to pay my money until February, October, basically between this period. And I was actually aiming to study 2008 September, so I missed the deadline because no one paid my tuition fee. The scholarship delayed it, so I just were forced to pay my own saving as a tuition fee guarantee, and just go get my study, because that was the dream, right? So I got to study in the Netherlands in February 2009. The very same year, I also ended up in Lithuania, the very first cycle event that was out there. And that year, craziest things happened in my life. In March the 21st of 2009, I had less than 50 cents in my pocket. My rent was due. We also discussed it with Virgis when I was in Lithuania a couple of weeks ago, this thing. And I was depressed. I was messed up because I didn't have any money. My scholarship still didn't pay anything. I went to the shop. I bought an old bread. That's the only thing that I could afford. By the way, March the 21st is the biggest holiday for people like me from Azerbaijan. We celebrate the 21st of March as New Year. We call it Nowruz. And you know, I called my family. Thanks God that there was something free called Skype, and they were asking how you are doing. I said, great. I have everything. But that night, I wanted to try to suicide, and I attempted to kill myself because you know, there was also a health issue in my family that I couldn't control, and I didn't have any financial means to help them. Not only that, I didn't have any financial means to feed myself. And a miracle happened that day. You know, the very same day, I received an email from this person that had disappeared since 2007, that he wants to see me in Berlin. And I just wrote to him, what the hell do you want from me? You have run away and you want to see me in Berlin. I don't even have a piece of bread to feed myself properly today. He got my ticket, he got everything for me, and I ended up in Berlin to meet him. I got the money from him, but in a card, of course. I got everything basically. And the even more funnier thing is that in the very same day, my scholarship also released $20,000, 20,000 euros of scholarship to me. So a day before I suicide, the day after, you know, my whole life changes, and these are some things that I have no control over. So ever since then, I have learned one thing: never tell yourself that you are depressed. Never let anyone around you that something is wrong. Now, I have done many crazy things in my life. I've invested in my earnings on crazy projects. I've lost in some projects. I have gone almost bankrupt and revealed back from it again. And one thing that has never changed for me is one word. If anyone asks you, how are you doing? Quite often they don't even care how you are doing, number one. So you can do two things. One would be to just you know, reveal your emotional feeling and get even more depressed, especially if you are in a depression or in kind of a bad mood. Or second thing is actually say, I'm doing great. And or I use something quite often, especially when I'm talking to my fellow people from Azerbaijan. When they are asking me how you are doing, I say better than great. No matter what, you know, you gotta be always, at least, you know, off your chest. You gotta be always telling that you are doing better than great, so that you are optimistic, so that you can turn your bad day around and turn into the positive side. And look into the people around you. You will always have hundreds of thousands of people that you have met once, etc. They're called connections. or people that you know. But out of those hundreds of thousands, maybe you'll have around 20, 30 friends. And out of the 20, 30 friends, maximum you'll have around 6, 7 best friends. And these are the 6, 7 people in your life, not necessarily as a part of your family, by the way, but 6, 7 people that you got to turn your back and always go ask for recommendations. When you feel like the world is coming on you, don't get in this depression. Don't give up, because life is really beautiful. Whatever happened in the past doesn't mean anything. You just got to look at it. You just got to learn from it. As long as you are looking at it from brighter side, believing in yourself, knowing that you can achieve things, dreaming, and always running after that dream, you will achieve that dream. And that's it, guys, for me today. I know I haven't taught you much today, but I really wanted to share my personal story with you, so that, you know, I came back literally from death. I don't know if you feel something out of it. And I have never told this story to no more than 5 people. Even my family right now doesn't know that I made more than $1 million when I was 19. Even now. And, you know, one person that really changed, not one person, there is a group of 2 that changed my mindset in 2007. Was one of them Lobo, and in 2009, the very same year, that again brought me back to life was again Lobo and Ken. By the way, Lobo and Ken were both present in Bakuriani as well. So thank you, Lobo, to giving you the mindset. You know, it's not always finances, it's not always material. It's about the mindset. And you guys, whether you are listening online, whether you are present there or not, one thing that you must be appreciating out of cycle courses is the mindset that you are getting. And that mindset I have seen personally, individually myself, making entrepreneurs. We have many good examples out there. I've seen people turning their hobbies into business, right, Lobo? How many people do you know that turned their hobby to business? I know at least one singer from 2009.
That's right. But a few.
And yeah, thank you, Lobo, one more time. Now I would like to hear your questions, if you have any question.
First, thank you for sharing. That was quite something.
Thank you.
So I'm sorry, everybody's got questions. I'm going to exercise wolf prerogative here. I have to ask, what did the guy say? How could he disappear for years? Did he have some kind of excuse? Or, you know, some guy shows up with 300,000 euros and you just say, okay, thank you. I mean, but what the fuck? Excuse me.
That was actually I wanted to kill him. You know, I wanted to kill myself the day before that. So what the hell? So he said that he forgot.
Oh my gosh. Okay, any questions?
I'm not joking. He said that he forgot. And I guess this is what happens when you become filthy rich.
Some communication slowdown. So I'm going to kill the camera so it doesn't use as much bandwidth. We are still here.
All right.
But that will hopefully help us communicate better.
Okay,
so,
I was telling that I guess this is what happens when you become filthy rich. You forget about 300,000.
What was significant to you was less significant to him.
Yeah.
There's so many wonderful things about that story, and about it reminds me of my own story about how I made an attitude shift, a decision about getting serious about money, and it was less than 2 months later came along and totally changed my life financially. And it wouldn't have happened without the attitude shift. And you're talking about your attitudes helping you survive that one terrible night and making it through to achieving your dreams. But anyway, questions? Evaldas.
So thank you for a fascinating story. I think
Speak up.
thank you for a fascinating story. I think it was really inspiring.
Thanks.
And I'm actually
We are having some connection issues. I will ask you to repeat what you said, please. I just had to turn the camera off myself as well.
The question was, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. So the question was, you reached your goal, you didn't have another goal. That was another very interesting part of your story. But obviously that was done. What about now? What are your goals now? Are you looking to, is $1 billion your next goal, or is it not financial? What's your goal now? If you
My
don't mind.
goal is no longer financial. My goal is no longer financial. That's something. My goal is, you know, I worked in forex industry for a really long time, and I gotta admit one thing. This is one of the filthiest, one of the least ethical industries out there. And we must all understand, wherever money is involved, you cannot really expect much of ethics. So when we acquired fully A to Z Forex and started developing it, including with Yuri, by the way, who is there, we are now dreaming about creating a portal for all the Forex investors out there that can find whistleblower information out about investing, about regulators, about individuals, and of course about trading styles. So my goal, and by the way, we are now working on a donation of $1 million for A to Z Forex. Hopefully it will happen. Again, from a very similar person that did the favor for me back in 2006, 2007. So we are now aiming to create a free education portal for all the investors out there, whomever wants to join Forex portal. We are not teaching you how to make $1 million. This is not what we are trying to achieve. We are trying to teach you first become emotionally stable, because if you are into making money online, it means that you don't have a job probably, or you are not happy with your life or the job that you are doing right now, or something crazy gambling style is going on in your life. So we are trying to get people to emotional stability. I'm teaching, during the presentation, I mentioned that just in the last 14 months alone, I've taught more than 11,000 people online. And well, by the end of September, I should reach more than 1,000 people offline, face-to-face teachings. So that's something that I'm going to be working on. We have a great team all over the world. We have right now 40 people, close to 38 to be more precise, working for us in 17 countries. And the aim is, again, to create transparency in this one specific geography or industry, let's call, and make sure that we expose the people that are not worth, you know, ruining people's lives, because I've seen people losing their whole life. I've seen people, you know, getting to the level that they want to kill themselves because they have been cheated, they have been scammed. And this is something that we are fighting for at the moment.
Well, that sounds like a great dream to have. Other questions?
Yes. I also want to say thank you, Yagub, for the story. And my question is about that guy who disappeared. Can you tell me, did you change your idea about trust in business, trust in life after the story? And now probably you, I don't know, sign a contract when you work with somebody, or you still trust people and you think it was just an exception?
Well, first thing, every culture is different. Okay, the very first thing you will learn in when it comes to doing business is that there are certain countries that having a drink is more than enough and more stronger than having a contract. And there are certain countries just having a handshake and looking in the eye is just a contract for you. And then there are Western countries that you got to make everything to the book, otherwise I can guarantee you that you'll get screwed. Sorry for my French. So I guess that answers your question.
So you act differently depending on a person.
You gotta understand the culture first.
Yagub, the question is, did you change? Has your view of human nature changed?
Of course. Of course. If you remember during the presentation, I mentioned you got to narrow down everything to that inner circle. You got to narrow down everything to that 6-7 people maximum that you can select in your life that you can trust. These are the people that you don't need any contract, no nothing from them. You can just turn around, turn your back. They will always deliver to you whatever you have agreed on. But for the rest, you got to understand the psychology. Not only the psychology of the other side, but you got to match the psychologies of both sides, yourself and the counterparty that you are working with. And don't make things like a competition. That's the golden rule. When you are doing business, people make the biggest mistake that they look at things as a competition, that one party must lose in order for the other one to win. That's not right a mindset. You got to make your mindset that you want to add value, whether you are getting a partner, whether you are finding a client, whether you are just getting something to do new. Your goal is not to make money. Money is a mean to get to your goal. Your goal is to add value, because once you start adding value, the rest will be enabled for you. That's the mindset that I've changed. You know, my very first goal was to make money, and I did reach that. And afterwards, the whole life turned around. I told you just before that you know, after I made the million plus level, I started to get arrogant. That's something that I learned. You know, you gotta first start, you know, reshaping your goal. And let's say if your goal is also to make money in your life, many people will start from it, because you know you gotta first have the freedom to make goals. Quite often you don't have the freedom because you don't have the money to make a goal. You got to find that money, right? So if you are making a goal, and you know that, let's say to do a project, imagine that you want to open a shop, and you have calculated that you need $10,000 to open your shop. Do yourself a favor, literally, and make your goal of 100,000, because I can tell you what, it is very much likely that you will not reach your goal. You know, you got to be lucky. I believe in luck, by the way. You got to be lucky to reach your goal. You got to be at the right place at the right time with the right people to be able to reach your goal. So make your goal at least 3 to 10 times higher than what you want to achieve, and then march for it. And of course, evaluate yourself. It's something that I've never stopped doing it. If you have a second, I'll also talk one short story that I made and I failed myself. In 2010, I created another company in the Netherlands, which was my personal analysis company, where we were selling our analysis of the financial markets, mostly on currency market and commodities market. And we were selling it to individual traders, retail traders. Within less than 6 months period, I made more than 100,000 euros. And by not doing anything, just a tiny blog that one of the cycle members helped me to actually set it up. It was called Target Signals. And then, because I started to make money so fast, I asked Yuri, can you help me, Yuri? And we said, okay, we are going to be actually making, with this speed, we should be making $1 million within a year. Guess what? I again went to arrogance mode, because I got so extremely self-confident that I decided to take off for 10, 15 days and go for vacation. And Yuri was barely new there. And the company crashed. We not only didn't make $1 million, we ended up closing up the company. So you got to look at yourself. It's not the parties that you are doing business with who fails. It is you who fail most of the time, because you do things stupidly. I've done so many stupid mistakes in my life, but you gotta learn from the mistakes. That's the golden rule of life. Before complaining, look why you have failed. Before complaining, look what mistakes you have done and how you can change it for the next mistake or issue or challenge that you're gonna have. And again, don't stay in the past. Past is past. You can't change it. It's gone. It's done. Until we invent the time machine, it has no added value. The only added value is the lesson that it teaches you, and the present is your present. It's your gift. Live with your gift today, and try to structure your present time in such a way that you will reveal the mystery behind your tomorrow, because you can plan your tomorrow. Plan it, not just for tomorrow. Plan it for 10 years ahead. Plan, fight for it. And this is something that I've learned through my life.
Any more questions?
Okay.
Go ahead.
And one more small question. You said you had a dream to study in business school. Was it useful for you?
Well, I can actually send a video of my graduation where they are giving me the diploma, and the professor comments, "I don't know whether we learned from you or you learned from us." So I still don't know.
Okay, thank you.
I have one more question. We haven't had this from the audience, and maybe people are thinking. I have to think there has to be somebody who listened to your talk and asked this question. When you're sitting there with one of the 100 wealthiest people in the world, and you tell him your idea, and this is a person whose whole deal is telling people, "I will invest in your dream." You tell him your dream, and he says your dream is stupid. Most people at that point would just sort of shrivel up and die inside, spiritually at least. But you fought back, and not only once but twice. You came back and made your pitch, and then he still said no, and then you made a very specific offer. You came back twice. Now the question is that just because you're Yagub and you're just a fighter and that's your personality, or is there something that could make it possible for other people to do this? I can imagine somebody saying, "Well, I'm really not that confident. I'm not such a person. I couldn't do that." So what do you think? Can only the Yagubs of the world do that, or is this something that other people can learn how to do?
I don't think that I'm special, Lobo. I think I have mentioned it before. I'm not a special person. I just learned one thing through my life, that literally it's something that life taught me. If they tell me that it is impossible, no way that I will accept it. That if you wanna motivate me, just tell me that you are stupid. If you wanna motivate me, just tell me that it is impossible, and I'll prove you wrong, no matter what it is. I mean, I will not sleep, I will not eat, I will prove you wrong. But I'm not a daredeviler. I'm not gonna be. I will never do stupid things. The thing that I do in my life, every time, the very first thing that I check is not the reward, what I'm gonna get as a reward. The very first thing that I look into is, what is the risk that I'm taking? At that specific occasion, the only risk that I had was getting a no answer. And anyway, he told me no. I could have just cried inside and just given up, or just be proactive. And being proactive is something that you can learn in life. And it comes to that very same question, how are you? when someone is asking that question, how are you? I don't really care how you are. This is a question for yourself. How are you? No one cares about how you are. Believe me, no one does.
We have an online question.
We have one more question from somebody online. Go ahead, Grace.
Is forex trading a zero-sum game? Would you recommend it to someone who isn't smarter than average?
Is forex trading a zero-sum game?
I can understand.
And would you recommend it to somebody who is not smarter than average?
I've invented a trading style which is called true Fibonacci waves, which I'm outlining in my own book as well. So if you ask me a question, let's change the question. What is the win ratio of the average trader out there? And my answer will be 98% of the people who come to forex trading will lose everything they have. Not only their account, but most likely everything they have invested in. Okay, that's the 98%. And then 2% will make something, and then 1%, which are generally the institutions, will be the people making the big bucks. Now, everything in forex, that's also what I'm teaching through my courses, depends on your psychology. If you go there with the mindset that you're going to become rich within a day, a week, a month, you're going to lose everything. But it is, if you approach it as a business, know that, let's say, the average industry or average return on investment elsewhere is, say, around 8% a year max. And you turn it around and say that, okay, since this is a little riskier game, and I just want to risk, say, 4% a month with the hope of, or with the target of making 8% a month, then no, you are approaching it as a business. So back to your question, as long as you are approaching it as a business, not as a game, no, it is not a zero-sum game. But the second you make it as a game and you lose the value of the money, then you lose everything anyway.
Okay. It's funny to hear you say this, and not funny at all at the same time. When I give talks to investors, I find myself saying very similar things. They want to know, well, how do I buy these stocks, or which stocks do I buy? And the first thing I tell them is, forget about all that right now, and look in the mirror and ask yourself psychological questions. What kind of investor am I? What risk tolerance do I have? What patience do I have? And they're expecting like a numbers type answer, and I'm giving them this self-help kind of answer that surprises them. But
it will piss off people, right?
Pardon me?
It will piss off some of them. That why are you...
Yes, right. But they absolutely have to sort this out first, or they will lose money. I agree with you 100%.
No, but I had one student from Malaysia in 2013. This person, my courses are, if it is a private course, I charge pretty hectic. So per hour, I generally charge around $800. So this guy got 10 hours of course from me, and I teach him literally how to make $1 million within 2-year period. And again, I try to put everything to the same style that I do, 25,000 towards $1 million goal. And the style that he took, the first month he made with 25,000. The first month he made 8,000. The second month he made 30,000, or 28, it was something like that. And the third month he blocked me off his account that I couldn't see. But just before it, I saw that there was extra 200-something thousand in his account, because he then told me that he sold his house because he wanted to get rich. So he sold his house, and a week later he comes to me, can you talk to my broker so that I can get the money back? I lost everything. You know, the greed is the greatest enemy of humankind. They all want to hear that great number because it sounds so sweet. Like what you have said. But once you lose your personal goal, your personal target, you're already lost in the game anyway. And finance is something crazy. Anyway, there is if you don't know the game itself, you're already starting with 1-0 with a loss. And not only in forex market, but in every other financial market as well. If your counterparty, quite often it's called broker, is not an honest party, or at least relatively honest party, you're going to be ending up with a loss as well.
Well, you know why they call them brokers, right? You send them money and you get broken. All right, we're still having sound difficulties here, and I think unless there's one short, quick question, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up and see if we can do some troubleshooting. Yagub, thank you so much for sharing that story. That's an amazing story, and you know, many really salient points. And I think I'm gonna tell my readers to go watch this talk online when we get it posted on YouTube, because you cover extremely important ground, I think, for all investors and maybe all people in general. So thank you so much for your contribution today.
Thank you very much, Lobo, for having me here today. And I really hope that next time I'll be able to join in person.
We will save a spot for you, brother.
Thank you so much. Guys, if you need anything, always come to me. I'm more than happy to help. As long as you are a cycler, we will help you cycle through the challenges of life. You know.
Very good. Thank you, Yagub.
Thank you, and have a great day.